Hello. Happy Tuesday. Another week of wonderful piano playing. You all have been doing really well. Might need a little extra practice today on on the last page that we're going to do together. But I think everybody's going to do great. So we're starting on page 97. So we're doing Unit 7 this week. And we are going to be first starting with augmented chords. This is really simple stuff. Many of you probably already know how to do this, but it's nice to get it on the keyboard and really get an eye for it, okay? So we're starting with two hands, so I'm at the bottom of 97. When we play C major, all I have to do is sharp the fifth. So my C major is C, E, and G. To create an augmented chord, I have C and E and G sharp. That's it. So an augmented chord is made up of a major third and then another major third, okay? So we have C major, C augmented, major, augmented, major. And then we go up to the D flat. We have major. Our fifth goes up half step to the A, or you'd call it, I think you might call that G double sharp. You get a D flat. Let me just think about that for a second. You have D flat, F, and A flat. So never mind, it's just called A natural there. Accidentals are going to be important this week. You're going to see some weird accidentals, and we had some issues reading accidentals last week, so I just want to make sure that I'm naming everything correctly. So we have D flat major, D flat augmented. It's kind of a mouthful, but D flat augmented. You get D flat, F, and A. And then major, augmented, major. And then we go to D. D, F sharp, A is the major. D, F sharp, A sharp is your augmented. So you got major, augmented. Okay, your root and your third always stay the same from major to augmented. It's just that fifth that's changed. All right, so continue upward by half steps to learn all the augmented. This isn't going to be homework, but it's going to help you with your homework. So then on 98, we're talking diminished chords. Okay, so a diminished chord, first we find our minor. So if we're starting on C minor, we get C, E flat, and G. A diminished is kind of the opposite of an augmented. So an augmented is two major thirds, C, E, and G sharp. A diminished is two minor thirds. So you have C, E flat, and G flat. Okay, so you go from the minor, C, E flat, and G, and then you flat the fifth. Okay? So your minor is C, E flat, and G. Your diminished is C, E flat, and G flat. And this next exercise is exactly the same. So you get minor, diminished, minor, diminished, minor. And then we go to D flat minor, minor, diminished. So here we start to get some complicated notation. So let me just explain the notation for a second. If you look at this D flat chord we've got going here, we get D flat, F flat, and A flat. Something really important to remember about chords is we always skip a letter of the alphabet when we're naming the notes that are in a triad, okay? When we're talking major, minor, diminished, augmented, there might be other times where this isn't true, but major, minor, augmented, diminished, what we're doing is we're skipping letters in the alphabet. We need some kind of a third. So we need D, F, and A. Some kind of D, F, and A, which means the major we know is D flat, F, and A flat. Okay? To get minor, we need D flat, F flat, and A flat. So we're not going to call this E, we're going to call it F flat, because again, I need to skip letters in the alphabet. I need some kind of D, some kind of F, some kind of A. Okay? When I go diminished now, I have D flat, F flat, and when I was playing the minor, I had an A flat. To flat the A flat, we're going to make it double flat. So even though this looks like it's D flat, E, and G, sure, it totally looks like that, but we need to have some kind of D, some kind of F, and some kind of A. So we've got a D flat, F flat, and A double flat. Okay? It's so simple when you look at the keys to make these chords. It's not hard to make these chords, but when you start seeing them notated like this, it can start to mess with your head a little bit. Okay? And then continue upwards. Your assignment, though, is on the bottom of 98. All the exercises I just taught you would be very helpful in learning 98. But what I really want you to be able to play is, so we're starting high up on the keys and we're actually going down half steps on this exercise. I'm starting on C major. We're playing the major, augmented, major, minor, diminished. And then we're going down to B. Major, augmented, major, minor, diminished. Then we have major, minor, major, augmented, major, minor, diminished. One thing that you'll find that's kind of fun is the diminished chord. So right now I'm on B flat, diminished, which is B flat, D flat, and F flat. The nice thing is, to get your next chord, you'll notice that only one note needs to change. Augmented, major, minor, diminished. Major, augmented, major, minor, diminished. Okay? So on and so forth. So from C, coming down half steps this time. Most of our exercises so far have been going up half steps. This one we're going to come down. All right? If you have any questions about that, please get in touch with me. But I think you'll figure it out, or you already are figuring it out. Again, we have some interesting notation here. So if we go to B, so I'm still looking at 98, I'm looking at measure 3, just to use B as an example. Our major is B, D sharp, and F sharp, right? Augmented, I can't just call this a G, because I need some kind of B, some kind of D, some kind of F. So my augmented is B, D sharp, and F double sharp. Okay? And then back to the major is B, D sharp, and F sharp. The reason the D sharp isn't notated in my third chord here, so I'm looking at the third measure and I'm looking at the third beat, the B major again. The reason that D sharp is not notated is because it already exists in that measure. We have the D sharp in the first beat, so we don't need to write it again. The reason the notation changed around the F sharp is because we played F sharp, F double sharp, and then we need to notate, hey, we have an F sharp again. Okay? So it's B, D sharp, and F sharp, B, D sharp, and F double sharp. Back to the major is B, D sharp, and F sharp. Now my minor is B, D natural, and we still have an F sharp because the beat before it said F sharp. And now we're going to go B, D natural, F natural for our diminished, okay? It looks more complicated when you're looking at the music than it really is. In your hand, you can just find the major, sharp the fifth, then back down to major, and then we're going minor, flat the third, diminished, flat the fifth, and you did it, okay? Please let me know if you have any issues with this or if it doesn't make sense to you. Again, you can use the exercises on 98 above it, like midway down the page in 98, and you can use 97 to help you out, help you figure out what all these different chords are, okay? So page 99, we're going to do some more rhythm stuff this week. So we get a dotted eighth note now. This has the same value as an eighth note tied to a 16th note, okay? So the way that we want to feel this is, let me get my whiteboard out for you. This first measure that we see here, hopefully I'll be able to see this. This whiteboard is kind of old now. The way that we count this and the way that we feel this. 1, 2, 3. And what's happening here is as if we have our 4 16th notes on that beat. If we think of it this way, it'll be really, really helpful. So what's happening with a dotted eighth note is it lasts as if you have 3 of these tied, geez, 3 of these tied together and then a 16th note. So this is equivalent, I don't think I can write upside down, to that. I have a dotted eighth and a 16th. So the dotted eighth is lasting for 3 16th notes here, and then boom. So I get 1, 2, 3, and if I think of this as 4-ienda, remember our 16th notes, we think 4-ienda, so I get 1, 2, 3, 4-ienda. Bum-ba. Sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4-ienda, 4-ienda. Okay, so we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4-ienda, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2-ienda, 3, 4, 1-ienda, 2 and 3, 4. My thumb missed that last one. I'm going to play that again for you to give you something to practice with. So 1, 2, play this with me. 1, 2, 3, 4-ienda, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2-ienda, 3, 4, 1-ienda, 2 and 3, 4. Okay? Now in 6/8 it is a little bit different. In 6/8, number 2, remember that each of our beats is an eighth note now. Okay? So while here we're counting 1 E and a, terrible handwriting, 1-ienda when we're in 4/4. When we're in 6/8, number 2 is 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. And normally, if this were kind of like a fairly easy measure, we'd get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But with this, the way that we're going to count this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 4 and 5 and 6. So it's still kind of like we got the 3. Still kind of like you feel it in 16th notes, as if 3 of these were tied. 4-ienda, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4-ienda, 6. Am I doing that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 4 and 5 and 6. 4 and 5 and 6. Okay. 4 and 5 and 6. Sorry. 4 and 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6. 4 and 5 and 6. I know I'm messing with your head right now. Let me just play number 2 for you. It still is kind of 4-ienda in a lot of ways, but I'm just not saying, I wasn't saying the 5 correctly. So let me count this first measure of number 2 for you so it's making sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Something that could be really helpful is to write above each of your beats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just kind of finding it, okay? Let me play that one for you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Okay, number 3 goes like this. I'm going to just play the right hand for you first, those first 2 measures. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. Now your left hand's just keeping the 8th note, so you're going 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. Then they switch. 1 E and ooh, that's a brain twister. 1 E and a 2 E. Ooh, you're gonna have to work on that. That's kind of a like pat your head and rub your belly type of thing. My big suggestion is don't go as fast as I just went. I was just sight reading that and it took off without me. I was going way too quickly. Start it nice and slow. Practice it a lot. You'll get the muscle memory going if you just practice it a lot. And what else was I gonna say? I can't remember. Just go a lot slower than that and practice it a lot. Basically, those are my big secret tips, but that's just kind of the truth with the piano, right? So I think that's good. I think I just want you to do 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, let's do rhythm reading 1 through 3. Okay? So 1, 2, and 3 on that page. And then we're going to skip over a couple of pages and we're going to go to page 102. Some reading exercises. This first one, number 1, transpose it to G major after you've figured it out. You're going to have little moments of dissonance here. Take a look through it and you'll see what I mean. Okay, and here are my tips for you. Play the right hand by itself with counting as if it were your rhythm reading. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then do the same thing with the left hand. 1 and 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, it's kind of like you're doing the major and the augmented. So figuring out your rhythm first, figuring out your 2 hands separately, and then very slowly bringing them together. I would start my practicing at about this tempo. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And you'll like how that augmented sounds. Every once in a while there's going to be some dissonance, something that doesn't sound quite right, but stick with it. As long as you know your notes, you're fine. Number 2, be very careful about your finger pattern. So I, again, would do this in the right hand first, because if you look at it, the left hand's not actually that hard, right? If you look at your left hand, you get minor, diminished, minor, 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 diminished, and it kind of follows that pattern, right? Again, your notation is kind of key here. Your first chord is D, F, and A. Then you get D, F, A flat. Then you see that natural symbol there is telling you D, F, A, then D, F, A again, D, F, A again, right? On measure 4, when it gives you the natural symbol in the beginning of the measure, that carries for the whole measure, okay? All right, great. Yeah, just be careful about your flat symbols and your natural symbols, and careful with your fingers. 5, 5, 4. So careful there in the third measure. When you get that flat symbol in beat 3, you get D, A flat, F, A flat, A natural, okay? So I saw that issue a couple times last week, that's why I'm harping on it. When you have a flat, a sharp, or a natural, or anything, at one point in the measure, it carries through the whole measure, unless you're told something new. Okay? So, I think that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions. I feel like this week got just ever so slightly harder on us, especially rhythmically on the rhythm reading, and especially with some of these finger things happening on this second example on 102. So your homework is 1 and 2 on 102, and number 1 needs to be transposed to G major. And then rhythm reading 1 through 3 on page 99, and then the bottom of 98. Okay? Like I said, please get in touch because some things might give you a hard time. Make sure you're practicing ahead of time so that you're not emailing me on Monday night saying, I don't know what's going on. I can try to get back to you on Monday night, but chances are I am not checking my email until we get into our assessments on Tuesday. So email me, before that if you need anything, and I will be here to try to help you out. And I will see you on Tuesday. Have an awesome week.